Hi everyone, I'm Alex Dykes, and today we're taking a look at the all-new for 2014 Nissan Versa Note. Now this is the Nissan Versa hatchback for America. It's been completely redesigned for the 2014 model year. In other world markets, this is just called the Nissan Note, but in America, because Versa has some brand recognition, they've decided just to add Note to the end of Versa to sort of tie it with the rest of the global offerings. Nissan tells us that the sedan and the hatchback sales are neck and neck, so this is a very important vehicle for Nissan to get right. So they've done a complete refresh of the exterior, so they didn't just graft a hatchback onto that existing Versa sedan. So we get an all-new grille up front with a larger, wider horizontal arrangement in these bars. We get unique headlamps, we get a unique hood, unique front bumper, etc. Adding some visual interest to the side, you can see the doors are different as well because the regular Versa sedan doesn't have this character line swoop that goes from the back all the way to the front door and then all the way back again at the bottom. Nissan is known for making things that are both very traditional and very reserved, like the Nissan Versa sedan, and then things that are just a little bit funky, like the Juke. This is kind of a combination of those two. We have this interesting hourglass sort of profile going on here with the hatchback and the rear glass, and then we have tail lamps that are molded after those Juke tail lamps with this sort of three-pointed affair going on. If the 2014 Versa looks smaller to you than it did last year, your eyes aren't deceiving you. Nissan's cut 6 inches off of the Versa, about 3 up front and about 3 in the back. It gives the Versa a slightly better proportion than it had last year, and it also means that these overhangs, both front and rear, are shorter than they were last year. One of the main missions for the engineers on the Versa Note was aerodynamics and therefore fuel efficiency. You can see an awful lot of little aero tweaks going on outside the Versa as well as underneath. We have these tiny little finlets right here on the back of the wheel well that help direct air around, and we have these little vents in the rear tail lamp. These help smooth the airflow in the back of the car. Under the hood, you'll find the same 1.6-liter four-cylinder engine as the Versa sedan. This engine produces 109 horsepower and 107 pound-feet of torque. While that may sound like a drop from last year, you have to keep in mind that this car weighs 300 pounds less than it did last year, so it's the same power-to-weight ratio approximately as the old Versa hatchback. The power is sent to the front wheels via a new CVT, or continuously variable transmission. This is the same unit that the Versa sedan uses, and it incorporates the usual belt and pulley arrangement from a standard CVT with a 2-speed planetary gear set. So we're going to pop up a little image here so you can see how the power flows. But basically what happens is, when you start out from a stop sign, that little 2-speed planetary gear set is in low, and the CVT is in its lowest range. As you accelerate, the CVT varies up to its highest range, at which point that 2-speed unit clicks over into its high ratio, and then the CVT portion resets itself to its low ratio, and then it continues accelerating. That gives this car a much broader range than the original single-speed CVT that you'll find in other Nissan products. So all the mid-size Nissan products use a CVT without this 2-speed arrangement, so they don't have quite as broad of a range. It improves the performance in the Versa hatchback more than you might think. It's definitely faster than last year's Versa, even though it's lost a little bit of power thanks to that CVT. It also means that when you're out on the highway, this engine really isn't spinning terribly fast, which helps improve your fuel economy. Front seat comfort in the Versa is pretty good for this segment. We have a 4-way manual driver's seat in the base model Versa, and if you step up to this SV trim that we're in now, you get the additional height adjustability for the driver's seat cushion. We have a tilting but not telescoping steering wheel, which does limit the adjustability of your seating position. So if I adjust this seat for me at 6 feet tall, where I'm comfortable with my legs, then the steering wheel does feel a little bit of a reach for me. One thing to keep in mind is lumbar support. Now, it's pretty common in the subcompact segment to not have any adjustable lumbar support in your car, but what is here and what is fixed in this seat is fairly minor. If you like a lot of lumbar support, then you should take a look at something like a Honda Fit, because Honda tends to put fairly exaggerated lumbar support in their vehicles. Let's take a quick look around the cabin. So you can see we have fairly similar fabrics to the regular Versa sedan. Over here on the doors, you'll find a hard armrest. It is one unfortunate thing that I noted. Over here, we'll find optional chrome handles. If you get the base Versa Note, these will just be black plastic. Power windows, power door locks are standard on our SV model. If we move over to the dashboard, you'll find dual glove boxes. This top one is fairly small, but this bottom glove box is very large. If we shine the light in there, you can see it's absolutely enormous back there. You can fit quite a lot of stuff in that one, including iPads, large letter-sized paper bundles, etc. If we move over to the center of the dashboard, you'll see the same climate control knobs as the Versa sedan, very functional. Down here you'll find same shifter, same center console, etc. This is also where you'll find the heated seat controls in our cloth heated seat model. And over here we have our USB and auxiliary input. Back up top, we have the optional $950 navigation system that also includes the all-around camera in our model, which is accessed by pressing this little button here. can see this is the same all-around camera system that you'll find in the Infinity product line. Pressing that button again gets you a slightly different view. If we move back over here, you'll find the Versa standard instrument cluster, 2-dial. And then if we move back out, you'll find a unique steering wheel. This is shared with the Nissan Sentra, so the regular Versa sedan doesn't get this one. It gets kind of a slightly cheaper looking round one. Over here you'll find your power mirror controls, and then we'll find all of our power window controls. Auto down windows, but not auto up. Nissan has a reputation for building vehicles with enormous back seats, and that's definitely going on here in the Note. Thanks to that hatchback profile, we have these very large and very square door openings, which makes getting in and out of this car an awful lot easier than you'd think a subcompact would be. But if I sit back in this seat, you can see how much legroom I have left. I mean, this is good 8 inches probably between me and the front seat, adjusted for me at 6 feet tall. The seat bottom cushion is a little bit close to the floor for adults, but you have a decent amount of legroom, so you can stretch your legs out and then put your thighs down on that bottom seat cushion. If I move over to the right side, this front seat is all the way back in its track, adjusted for a 6'5" passenger we had in the car, and I still have about 4 inches of legroom left. There are mid-size and full-size sedans out there that don't offer this much legroom. 6 inches more legroom in this car than most of the competition in its class. We also have a center armrest with dual cup holders back here. Now, these rear seats do fold, but they don't fold completely flat with the cargo area in the back. There is a little bit of a drop back there to the bottom of the cargo load floor. Now, the Versa is not a terribly wide vehicle, so although there is still a decent amount of headroom and legroom in this middle seat, it's not a whole lot of width, so I wouldn't put 3 large people back here. Hatchbacks are all about cargo carrying practicality, and that's definitely going on here in the Versa Note. In addition to these folding rear seats, as you can see, they fold completely flat with this upper load floor. Now, this upper load floor is only available in the SV model, and that's because this is sort of an innovative flip and fold cargo cover there. You can flip and fold it all the way down to the bottom, and as you'll see now, there's a height difference between that bottom load floor and the seat back. Or you can put it in this configuration, have some storage for your widget under there, and then you can load items on top of it. Now, this cargo area is a few cubes bigger than last year's Versa model, even though the Versa has gotten shorter. And we can still fit large carry-on bags. That's the largest bag you can carry on a domestic flight. You can still fit that behind this rear passenger seat. The numbers are in, and the Versa Note scores 7 out of 10 points in our exclusive Trunk Comfort Index because this is quite a large cargo area, and it's finished quite nicely. The headliner is much improved over the last generation Versa, which had a fairly terrible headliner, if I'm honest. That's definitely not going on here now with a nice fabric headliner. How much will it cost you to sing this Note? Let's go over those numbers now. Sorry, I couldn't help that bad pun. Pardon me for my notes here because there's a lot of pricing going on with this vehicle. The base S model starts at $13,990, so you get a manual transmission for that. The fuel economy is lower than the CVT equipped model. Nissan tells us that about 9 to 10% of buyers will opt for that base model. Most people will be getting the SV trim, which is $15,990, gets you better fabric, the power windows, power locks, Bluetooth phone system, remote keyless entry, the vanity mirrors on the inside, and a 6-way driver's seat. Now, you can top it all the way up with the navigation and a lot of those other options, and things still won't reach $19,000. In fact, the top line trim is $18,490. So that is a decent amount cheaper than the top line trim of the Fiesta or the Honda Fit or a number of its other competitors. And the Versa has always been in that really bargain basement price category. If you don't care about infotainment, then just go ahead and follow the instructions down there to fast forward to the drive section of our review. What we're taking a look at here is Nissan's Connect system with navigation. This is Nissan's cheapest navigation system, and it's found in a wide variety of Nissan products. Of course, we're in the Versa hatchback right now, but you can also find it in the Altima, the Frontier, the NV200, the Sentra, the Titan, and the Xterra. This is a refresh of the former low-cost navigation system, and it's corrected a number of the deficiencies that have sort of cropped up with the competitive systems on the market. So we have XM satellite radio standard over here, AM and FM, of course, CD. Auxiliary input is where you'll find your iPod, as well as Pandora streaming audio. Now, Pandora streaming audio just uses the native app on your iPhone. It doesn't require a third-party specialty app like B&W Connect does. Now, this doesn't work at the moment with Android devices, although we're told that there may be a solution for that soon. You'll also find your standard 3.5mm auxiliary input here as well. Below that, we have track forward and backward, of course. We have a camera button. If your car is so equipped, you'll get the rear view camera. You'll get the all-around view camera like we have in our Nissan Versa hatchback. If you hit it again, you'll get the optional side view. Again, that's only if you have the all-around view camera. and then you can turn it off as well. One nice feature is that it has the curving lines that you'll find in more expensive vehicles. Those are standard with this system. Over here on the map button, you'll find our basic mapping software. This is essentially the same as the last generation low-cost navigation system. It's fairly responsive. As you can see, it offers 2D and 3D views of the map as well. It's fairly easy to use. Entering a destination is found over here on the nav button. You can enter a destination in the system fairly easily. You can search by street, by city, etc. Enter in house numbers first. It's very, very logical layout. New for this year are point of interest powered by Google in this system, and that's because this is also a data-connected system now. It pulls that data off of your smartphone, and you can get your point of interest powered by Google. You can also find intersections like you wouldn't before. Over here in menu, you'll see some of our other data services. We have traffic information and weather information. Now these are provided by XM Satellite, so those don't require a data service or a paired Bluetooth smartphone. Over here you'll find point of interest powered by Google yet again. Again, that does require Bluetooth and a data service. And we have Google Send to Car that allows you to look up destinations on your computer and then send them to your car. So once you get in the car, you'd connect your Bluetooth-enabled smartphone, you'd hit that Google Send to Car, and it would download those new commands for you. We also have improved voice commands over the last generation of system. Over here on the phone button, you'll find a typical phone interface with the phone book, call lists, redial button, and the system now supports text messaging assistant, which will read and allow you to reply to certain text messages through the system, but it's not supported by the current iPhone. So there are a few things that will work with the iPhone only, and a few things that will only work with Android devices on this system. Overall, this is one of the better systems on the market at any price point. The system is very responsive. We have full access to our iPod's music library. The commands are very easy to use on this system. It's very easy to navigate around, and this touchscreen is fairly responsive. Moving from screen to screen and system to system, you can see that this system is just more responsive than my Ford Touch or Cadillac's Q or any of those other high-level systems. The price tag on the system also is right. Depending on your vehicle, it's about $950 and usually comes with the all-around view camera or other camera systems or a few other options depending on the vehicle that you're buying. Nissan isn't making any claims about the Versa Note being the best handling vehicle in the segment, which is a good thing because the Versa Note has been equipped with low rolling resistance tires. That's part of how we get the 40 miles per gallon on the highway in this car. Now, low rolling resistance also means less grip. There's just less friction going on, period, with these tires. Now, modern low rolling resistance compounds have gotten a lot better, so if you're familiar with the original generation Prius, it was really not very grippy at all. It's not exactly happening here in the Versa. However, its competition with regular tires does handle better. So the Ford Fiesta is a better handling vehicle out on the road. It's also a little bit more accurate. This Versa Note has electric power steering, which does mean that the steering wheel is pretty numb. It's fairly accurate, but pretty numb as well. Where the Versa Note really shines is in the ride, because we have a long wheelbase in this car. If you take a look at the exterior profile, it's obvious that the Versa Note has a really long wheelbase. It's the different distance between the front wheels and the back wheels. That really helps out the ride as well as the rear seat legroom. This car has more rear seat legroom than many mid-size sedans. It's all thanks to that wheelbase. Now, out on the road, it makes a big difference because the car can soak up bumps. It doesn't tend to ride as harshly or as roughly as something like a Fiat 500 or anything that has a fairly short wheelbase. None of the Versas are going to win any stoplight races. We clocked 11.5 seconds 0 to 60 the last time we had a Versa sedan. We haven't had a chance to 0 to 60 test this car. You'll have to check back when we get our full weekly review on one. But we don't expect it to be terribly different because the hatchback is only 50 pounds heavier than that Versa sedan. It's an important number to keep in mind because most hatchbacks weigh a few hundred pounds more than their sedan counterparts because there's a lot of weight going on in the hatch, as well as the additional reinforcing structure of the vehicle needed to help keep it rigid when you have that enormous hole in the back. So it really speaks to Nissan's dedication to reducing weight, and reducing weight improves every aspect of vehicle performance, from 0 to 60 time to fuel economy to handling, etc. If you're checking out other reviews of the Nissan Versa Note, I can already tell you two things that I think some people are going to complain about. And this is based on past experience with the current generation Nissan Versa sedan. First thing I think they're going to complain about are dashboard interior plastics. Yes, these plastics are hard. They are a little bit cheap looking and a little bit cheap feeling. However, this car is the cheapest vehicle in its class. It's under $14,000 starting price, so I'm really not sure what kind of plastics these people are expecting for $14,000. That's not necessarily defending Nissan, that's just reality. I mean, you want nice plastics, you need to pay for them, so you shouldn't be surprised when your $14,000 subcompact has nastier plastics than a $30,000 or $40,000 BMW. That's just the way that it is. The second thing I think people are going to complain about is the CVT, because that's just something that auto journalists love to complain about. They really love to complain about CVTs, but I think that they're a great solution to a few problems that most subcompacts have. And those problems are fuel economy, because CVTs get excellent fuel economy, especially in the city. It's really where this Nissan Versa Note shines. The next one is performance. Really helps 0 to 60 time because you can keep this engine in its optimum power band at all times. And the third thing is mountain climbing. That's something that the Nissan Versa Note as well as the Nissan Versa do very well. And if you take a look at some of the competition like the Toyota Yaris, when you're going up a hill, the car has to slow down a reasonable amount before the car can downshift. And then you speed up, and then it upshifts, and then you slow down, and then it downshifts, etc. And it's this repeating process. But if you're in something like this Nissan Versa Note, you just keep going up the hill, and the engine varies its speed according to what your needs are at the time. That's really what CVTs are about, is that ability to vary and stay at the optimum power band at all times. And it really works to great effect in a car like this, because it means that you can stay going that constant speed up a hill and, not annoy people behind you, but also get good fuel economy while you're doing it. Hill climbing fuel economy in these cars tends to be much better than those multi-speed automatics, just because this car can be in that optimum power band and optimum fuel efficiency band at all times. Yes, the engine is going to drone a little bit when you floor it. So if you floor the car, the engine is going to go all the way up to about 5,000 or 6,000 RPM, and it's just going to hang out there until your acceleration is done. Again, that's just what CVTs are about. Now, Nissan has done a great deal of sound insulation work on this new Nissan Versa Note, and so it sounds an awful lot quieter on the inside than the last hatchback that they created from the Nissan Versa. So that really allays some of those concerns. It is still going to be droning more than something like a Ford Fiesta, etc., but you're going to get that better fuel economy out of it. Nissan tells us that the Versa Note will score 31 miles per gallon in the city, 40 miles per gallon on the highway, with a combined score of 35. Now that combined score is very important because that's what most people will be getting in their compact hatch. That makes the Versa a very compelling entry in this segment. Definitely better combined fuel economy than anything from Ford or Honda or Toyota at the moment. It's a very compelling hatchback all the way around. We have a decent amount of feature content. It's incredibly cheap, which I really like. That really speaks to me. And it's something that I would buy myself. I don't say that about very many vehicles. You can check out all of our other videos if you don't believe me. Again, I'm Alex Dykes, and that's been our quick look at the 2014 Nissan Versa Note. Be sure and check back with us when we get our hands on one for a full week. Until then, go ahead and click on that subscribe banner at the bottom of your screen so you can be notified of all of our latest videos. Be sure and comment on this video. You can send us messages on YouTube and let us know what you liked, what you didn't like, and what you'd like us to review next.